is start up a whole new project first. I'm going to go to the architectural template because I'm working with Revit architecture. And I'll just start me up with a new Revit architecture project. I'm then going to go to the Insert tab on the ribbon, and I'm going to go to the Link panel and link my Revit file. Now, the Revit file that I'm going to link is that Revit sample project, and just set it positioning-wise so it's origin to origin, like so. Doesn't matter whether it's center to center or origin to origin right now, but origin to origin, it just tends to be the norm because you're going from 0, 0 to 0, 0. So I'll click on open, like so, and you'll see it all jumps here. Now, as you can see there at level 0 now, I've got a plan view, and you should recognize that as my Revit sample project. Just going to zoom out, just roll back on the wheel a bit, and there's the entire project there. And when I hover over it, you can see it's a linked Revit file, an RVT links file. You can see it there like so, and it's not shared at the moment. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go to the Collaborate tab on the ribbon, and we're going to use Copy Monitor here. So I click on the little down arrow there, and I want to select my linked Revit project like so. So I hover over it, highlights in blue, I click, and as usual in Revit, the ribbon changes. So I'm now in the Copy Monitor settings of Revit architecture. I'm going to go up here and I'm going to select Copy like so. So I select Copy, and you'll notice on the options bar now, I can do a multiple copy monitor, and I've got Finish and Cancel. Now I'm going to zoom in, and I'm just going to copy 2 elements from my linked project. I'm going to zoom in, and the elements I'm going to copy are this wall here and this wall here, those 2 there, like that. So I select that one, and I hold down Control on the keyboard and select that one. There's my 2 elements selected. And I click on Finish, job done. Now they have actually been copied to this new blank project. So if we just hit Escape a couple of times just to deselect everything and switch everything off, what I'll do now is I'll zoom out and I'll select my actual linked project there. You can see it all highlighted in blue. I then go to Manage Links up here on the ribbon. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to unload it quickly. So I'll just unload it like so. And it says I can't use the undo redo button. So that's fine. So I'll click on yes to that. And I'll click on OK. And you'll notice, look, those 2 elements now have been copied from the linked project into my current project. Now, what this gives you the benefit of is if I'm working with a different discipline, let's say structural steelwork, I can link their structural project and copy the elements I want to bring into my architectural project, for example. So that's how you copy. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go back to the Insert tab here, and I want to manage my links again. I'm going to reload my Revit sample project. So I'll just reload it, click on OK, and there it is back again like so. Now what I can do as well is I can monitor those elements if I want to as well. And if I want to monitor them, it's the same process. I go back to Collaborate, like so, Copy Monitor, like so, select Link, and select my linked file. If I click on Monitor now, what I can do now, Copy Monitor, you'll notice I can select it like that, and then Finish. That monitors it. And what I can do is I can then run things like a coordination review. So if I select the link now and select this here, as you can see, if any changes have been made, it'll show me what's been changed basically in the host project. So if any changes have been made here, I can create a report. I can select elements like so. I don't have any elements selected right now, but I can apply that and I can OK it. I haven't actually made any changes, so there would be nothing showing in the coordination review. But obviously what I could do is I could select that wall there, change the wall type perhaps. Let's change it to a different one. Let's say trench blockwork, for example. And you'll see, oh look, monitor alert. It's told me that the wall core thickness has changed. And that's because that wall is being monitored from the copy that I took from the link file. Now I can stop monitoring, like so, and that stops it being monitored so those warnings won't pop up again. But it's a great tool to collaborate between disciplines when you're working in Revit architecture. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch on my work sharing visualization. It's down here on the view control bar, and it's work sharing display off. Can you see that when I hover over that? It says work sharing display off. If I click there, I can go to my work sharing display settings. Now all this is color coding, and it allows me to move around the model and check what's going on. It's very, very useful for BIM coordinators who are coordinating the model within a project, for example. So I've got checkout status. So are they owned by me? Are they owned by others? Who are the owners? So there's me, I'm the owner of these particular work sets. Are there any model updates? Any updates? Any deleted elements? Are there any work sets there? There's the work sets like so. Now, all of this I'm just going to apply, and okay. Now, I need to switch it on, more importantly, so I click there, and what I can do now is go to any of these particular settings that were in that dialog box. So if I go to Owners, like so, can you see it gives an orange box around the view in the drawing area, and it highlights anything that is owned by anybody. Now, right now, nothing is owned by anyone. You've got a new local file. None of the work sets have been signed out by anybody using this particular model. So if I go to Collaborate now, and come into the Manage Collaboration here and go to Work Sets. Now, if you're using an older version of Revit, you'll still see the Work Sets icon. Just click on it, and that'll open up the Work Sets dialog box. Now, you'll see that none of these are editable. So if I say that Work Set 1 is now editable, as soon as I switch that on as editable, I become the owner. So there's my Revit username, my Sean_000. So if I OK that now, I now own that work set, and that color coding there is what's in my work sharing display settings here. So if I go here, can you see owners? There's me, there's the purple color, and I now own that particular work set. Now, if I come back here into work sets and I say no to that and I switch it off, you'll see that it goes grey again. So that's owners, who owns that particular work set. And then what I can do here, I can come back to work sharing display, and I can just switch the work sharing display off. Everything goes back to normal. Now, this also works in the 3D views in Revit. It's extremely useful. So if I go into a 3D view, let's just say the default 3D view, there we go. And there's my nice, pretty house in the basic sample project. Now we're using a nice visual style, we're using shaded. If I went to something like hidden light, so it's all just hidden black and white, monochromatic like that. Now, if I go back to my work sharing display here, and I switch on owners like so, you can see there that nothing is owned by anybody at all. And again, it's all grey, no highlighting involved. If I go back to the work sets now, and work set 1, if I sign that out to me again by making it editable, and then clicking OK, it all goes purple again. That's my colour. Now, again, I can go back to work sets, sign that back out again by saying no, like that, and OK, and that goes back like that. Now, don't forget there's other settings as well. I can show the work sets. So there's all the work sets now. Notice it's changed to work sets in the corner. I can also look at any model updates, of which there aren't any. I can also look at checkout status. Is anything checked out at the moment, which it isn't. So what I've got here is a whole load of settings that I'm now going to switch off that allow me to see what's going on, not only in my floor plans and my views, but in my 3D views as well. So I just set that back to that nice shaded color, like so. All the colors come back. And I'm going to go back to floor plan level 1. And again, what I'll do is I'll go to work sets like so, and I haven't got any display on this time. And I'm going to sign out my work set 1 again. So that is now owned by me, and I OK it. Doesn't make any changes until I go to work sharing display and go to owners, like so. So it's only when you own the work set that it will make any display changes using your work sharing visualization. And then as usual, if you want to switch that off, you go to work sharing down there on the view control bar, work sharing display off, and it all goes back to normal. Now there's one more thing you must do with work sharing. If I'm about to close this file down for the day and I'm about to leave the office, what you should always do is synchronize with Central. So I'll do a synchronize now. That synchronizes back to the central model so that all the changes that I've made are synchronized back to the model. It's no use just saving your local file, because that'll just save the changes to the local file. You must synchronize back to the central model. More importantly, relinquish all of your work sets that you've got open. If I go to work sets at the moment, you can see I've got work set 1 signed out to me. If I relinquish all of those, like so, and then go to work sets, that's how it should look. I shouldn't own anything. So I'll OK that, and then what I would do then is then close down the file. Now you don't have to save it because you've synchronized. So I can just go up here to the big blue R, click on close, and that closes it out. Now you do get a prompt when you're work sharing. Do you want to save it locally? Which is normally a good thing. It's always a good idea to save it locally just in case, but it doesn't synchronize it with the central model. Or you can just say, no, I don't need to save it because I've synchronized already. I always save locally, just to be on the safe side. In the project browser, you can see I'm in level 1. And what we're going to do in level 1 is actually hide some bits here that we don't really need to see. So I'm going to select the color legend here. I'm going to right click on it, hide in view, category. And that just removes that and gives me a bit of space. Same with the grids, highlight a grid, any grid will do. That one there, maybe. That one there, any grid, just select one, right click, and again, hide in view, category. It starts to just give us a nice clean view that we can work with. Do the same with the section marker, right click, hide in view, category. Now you can bring all of those back by going down here to the view control bar and revealing the hidden elements and setting them not to hide again in the reveal hidden elements view. So I just click on the light bulb again to switch that off. Now I'm going to zoom in on the lounge area down here. And you'll see that we've got a whole load of windows already tagged with the tag 46. I'm going to select the left-hand group of tags here. And then I'm going to go up to the Modify panel, click on the red cross and delete them. Now the reason I'm deleting them is I want to place them again to show you how to tag by category. Now what I'm going to do is go up to the Annotate tab on the ribbon, and I'm going to come into the Tag panel, and I'm going to select Tag All. So this will allow me to tag everything that isn't tagged already. So if I do that, you'll notice that it gives me the option to pick all of these elements here. Now Revit knows which elements and categories I already have in the project. And I want window tags. I want to tag all the window tags that are not tagged. I want to give them a leader line, which is going to be 12.7 millimeters long, and I want the tag orientation to be horizontal. Now, if I just drag the dialog box over this side and then click on OK, you keep an eye on that left-hand side of the building, and there's my tags with their leader lines. So again, I've got these tags here. So if I delete these ones as well, just a little crossing selection again, and click on the little cross there in the Modify panel, and again, I'll go Tag All, and again, I get the dialog box, Window Tags, and if I drag the dialog box over this way, and this time I'm going to leave the leader unticked and click on OK, and it gives me tags that are not using a leader line. Now, that's great, because I can tag everything that isn't tagged in any Revit project. I'm going to delete those again now. I'm going to zoom in a little bit now, and you can just see the windows. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4 when I highlight them. I can also tag by category, which means that Revit knows what the object is and tags it accordingly. So if I go tag by category now and come into the drawing area, you can see I just need to hover over that window. There's a tag. If I go back again to Annotate now and go tag by category again, click on that one, click on that one, and click on that one. So I can do it individually as well. Now the good thing about this is because I can do it individually, I'll just hit escape there to deselect that last tag. It means that I can individually pick an individual item by category. Or I can go into Revit and say to Revit which items by category are not tagged, select them, and get them all tagged all at once. Now be careful with that tag all option because it will tag everything in the category you select, and it can get a bit messy and a bit busy. So use the tag by category if you need to first, and then use the tag all if there's items that you know still need to be tagged. Again, we're staying in the documentation chapter of this particular course, and you'll notice we're on another new Revit project, which is Revit project _dims.rvt. It's the same project that we've used for previous videos as well, but what I've done is I've tweaked it slightly this time. You'll notice when I click down here to reveal hidden elements, I've switched off things like the grids, the sections, the elevation markers, the room legends, and so on. So if I click back on the light bulb, that'll take me back into the level 1 DIMS floor plan. Make sure you use that one, because if I go to the level 1 here, you'll notice that everything is still switched on, like the grids and so on. You want to use the level 1 DIMS floor plan. So I'll double click that there. So download your Revit project _dims from your lynda.com exercise files. And what we're going to look at now is using strings of dimensions and also single dimensions as well. And what we're going to do, we're going to zoom in on this lounge area again and look at the windows that come down the walls here. So I'm going to zoom in a bit. First of all, I'm going to do a single dimension on the first window on the left-hand side, which is just there. So I'm going to go up to the Annotate tab on the ribbon, and I'm going to select the aligned dimension here. Now you'll notice that the linear dimension style is feet and inches. Now for some strange reason, I don't know why that's there, but it's classed as feet and inches. It will actually display a metric dimension in this case, and it's purely just the style. I could rename that style if I wanted to by going in here and editing the type. So it says feet and inches there. I can duplicate that, no problem, and I'll change that to say millimeters, like so. Now let's spell that the English way because I am English at the end of the day. So I'll click on OK there, and it's now millimeters. I'm not going to change anything there. I'm just going to click on OK. So you notice now I've got a linear dimension star called millimeters. Now the dimension command is still going, the align dimension, and if I hover here, can you see I get a blue line? If I click there, that's the start point of my dimension, and as you can see it comes out, and as I move the mouse, I drag it down to the next line. There's the blue line again, and click again. And there's my dimension there, 1500 millimeters, a 1.5 meter window. I'm just going to drag the dimension out to where I want it to go, and I'm going to click again like that, and that places the dimension like so. So I just hit escape there now, and that's my single dimension placed. Now if I zoom out slightly and just power over here now, I can do a string of dimensions down, 1, 2, 3, and 4 windows. So again, I go to aligned, like so. I hover here and I get the blue line, click. There's the blue line, click. And if I keep going, just keep clicking on those blue lines like that, you'll notice that I get a string of dimensions. And then when I click out like that to place them, they're placed. Now, as soon as I place those, you'll notice that there's quite a lot of information next to those dimensions. Now, if I want these dimensions to be constrained, I want them to hold that 1500 value, I can lock them all like this. So each of those dimensions, when I lock that tab lock, is then constrained. So you cannot make that window opening any bigger. It will always be 1500. I can unlock them again if I do want to make it bigger, like so. It's a bit like switching on a layer in AutoCAD, for example. You can lock a layer on or off, and that's the same thing. Now you'll notice here we've got equals as well, which is the dimension equality. Now, we don't need to worry about that in this particular case because our dimensions are all equal. They're all 1500. But if our window openings were different sizes, for example, what we could do there is use that equals setting and toggle the dimension equality. Now what I could do is put some windows in a wall elsewhere. So I'll just click away from the dims and that deselects them. And I'm going to zoom out. Now if I come down here and over here, you'll notice again, look, can you see I've got all different tools. If I click there, there's another window there, for example, that's 1500. Now, obviously, we've standardized on those 1500 windows in this particular property. And that's fairly normal for most kind of construction projects. But if I come up here to the top, you can see I've got a nice little piece of wall there. If I hover there, it's a basic wall. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to place a window in there. So I'm going to go to the Architecture tab, going to go to Window in the Build panel. And I've got a single window standard. Now, if I hover there, can you see there's my window, like so? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place my window, click, like that, and it does an opening. Place my window, flick like that, and it does an opening for me. Now I haven't got a clue what distances are between those two windows, so I hit escape now. And what I can do now is I can do my string of dimensions again. So if I annotate now and do a single dimension going from, let's say, that wall there to that wall there, like that. So that's the inner edges of those walls. That's 400 there. So if I click there, and then what I do is I go back to the annotate tab and I do the align dimension again. I'm going to come from here to here, like so, and then to here, and then to here, and then to here, like that. And then I'm going to come up and join those all together. Now you'll notice, can you see there, the windows are the same. They're all 1010. You can see that there, 1010. So if I hit escape like that, you can see that all of those dimensions there can be changed. Now the nice thing is I can click and I can drag that up and I can reposition it. I can change the use actual value or replace that with text. So what I could do there is replace that with text, and I could have something like size accordingly. And that allows me now to OK that, and it sizes it accordingly. Now I might need to just pan, and then just click on that little grid there, just drag the text up a tad. There we go, like that. And that tells them to size that little brick here accordingly. Now obviously I can change these strings, like so. I can make them equal as well. If I click on equal there, like that, the equality constraints are not satisfied because there's a locked constraint. Now the reason being is that 400 went in on its own. So what I'll do is I'll just cancel that now. I'm going to undo this a few steps. I'm going to go all the way back and I'm going to lose those dimensions. And I'm going to start and do an entire string this time. So I'm going to go 1 and 2. Just go across to each gap like so. Now these gaps are set in your options bar. There's different settings that you can use. Can you see there on the options bar? It says wall faces and pick individual references. What I could do is change that to a different value on the individual references pull down, and then the options button highlights, and I can change whether I'm actually dimensioning gaps or doors or windows or openings and so on. So if I click there like that, you'll notice now If I zoom out a bit, there's the equals just above. So if I now click there and make all of that equal, can you see it makes all those equal? And now if I just hit escape, every single one of those is the same distance. Windows and brick piers. So if I click on that string again and select it, I'll just hit escape a couple of times there and select it like so, and then I hit equals again, they're now all 640, including the window sizes. So that's basically how you work with these strings of dimensions when you're working in Revit architecture. Now, you'll notice I'm in the level 1 floor plan. Up here in the project browser, level 1 is highlighted in bold. Just double click on level 1 to make sure you're in the right floor plan for this particular exercise. And we're going to look at color scheme legends. Now, if I zoom in here, you can see that we've already got a legend in place. So these colors, for example, the living room is that pale green with the dots in it, and that room there is already set up. Can you see the room name and so on? If I come down a bit, kitchen and dining, the room is already set up. And if I hover on the outskirts of the room, like so, you'll see when I hit a certain point, you'll get that funny little crosshair like that. And that indicates that that room's already been set up. Now, if you want to set up rooms, you do it via the Architecture tab, and in the Room Area panel, there's Room there. And that creates a room bounded by model elements such as walls, floors, and ceilings, as it says quite rightly so there. Just going to zoom out again. Now, because we've already got a color fill legend in this view, if I go to the Annotate tab on the ribbon, you can see that there's the color fill legend. Now, it's not asking me to create a new one because it knows that there's one in there already. So if I click on color fill, like that, it's trying to place the same legend. Now, these legends are set up in your system families, but you can duplicate them and create new ones. So if I click there, it's just going to place another legend that is exactly the same with exactly the same colors. So I'll just hit escape there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit this existing one by selecting it and clicking on Edit Scheme up there in the ribbon. And here's the dialog box to edit the color scheme. Now, the color schemes are very easy to work with. You've got categories up here. Now, the only category that a color scheme will work with in this particular view is rooms, because that's the only one that's got the actual names set up like so. So we've given it the title Room Legend. The color is name. I could go for floor finish, department, and so on. All of this information can be put into the rooms that you place in your Revit floor plan. So I can put floor finish, wall finish, perimeter. What we're doing in this particular case is the name of the actual rooms themselves. It's used name. Now it says colors are not preserved when changing which parameter is colored. I can OK that because it's all staying the same. Now it's making sure that all of them are visible, like so. So it's ticking the boxes for all of them, like that. And I can change the colors, and there's the previews. Are they in use? Yes, they are. So if I change the color of, say, the bathroom or the kitchen and dining area, something like that. The living area was that Pantone green, for example. Let's change that to a nice bright red. I'll OK that like so. If I apply that now and I OK that, you'll see that the lounge area is now that bright red. If I click away from the color scheme, you'll see if I zoom in, the living room is now that bright red color, like so. So if I select it again, edit it again, if I want to create different color schemes, I come over here, I duplicate. So I click there, and that allows me to create a new one. See, it says name 2. That one's called name up there. And I can create a new color scheme, add colors, and change it to perhaps floor finish or something like that, kind of a floor finish color scheme and legend in my Revit project. I'll just cancel that and cancel that for the moment. So if I click away from that now, you'll see that all of those settings are picked up because it's a Revit system family. So all of this is defined in the Revit system families anyway, so you don't need to worry now exactly what colors they are, because you can go in and edit them if you need to and make them suit what you need in the Revit color scheme. Last but not least, in this chapter on documentation in the course, we're going to have a look at working with phasing and phases in your Revit architecture project. Now, when you're developing any Revit architecture project, you can add phases. So, for example, you might have a demolition phase where you're demolishing parts of an existing building. You then might have a new build phase. You might have a proposed phase where you're showing what is proposed, and you might be waiting for planning application approval, for example. So we've got a new Revit project open. You can see it at the top of the screen there. It's Revit project _ phasing. And what I've done is I've copied the Revit basic sample project that you get with Revit Architecture 2014. So I haven't changed anything in this particular Revit project file at all. All I've done is saved it with a new file name for use with this particular exercise. So I'm in the level 1 floor plan here in the project browser. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you how phasing works. So if I go to the Manage tab here and go to Phases, it'll open up the Phasing dialog box. And there's my project phases there. So I can insert these before and after. So if I go there, Learning Content, for example, and click on the 3, and then Insert After, I can add a phase 1, for example. I can then click on it there and give it a name such as, let's say, new build, let's call it. So let's type that in, make sure I spell it correctly, and enter. Now, I'm not going to add a description, and I'm not actually going to use that phase, but that's how you add a new phase to the list if you need it. And as you can see, you can combine that with previous and next phases as well. So if I select that, and then I can combine it with the previous phase, let's say learning content or working drawings, it will allow me to combine, for example, new build and existing once the new build is complete, to say that it is now all existing and as built, for example. Now, what I'm going to do there is I'm actually going to cancel that there, like so. Now, the phases themselves are controlled over here in the Properties palette. Now, you can select individual items and phase them accordingly. So if I selected that wall there, and then held down Control and selected that wall as well, those two walls there, for example, if I scroll down in the Properties palette now, you can see that they are both in the working drawings phase. Can you see that there? You've got phase created working drawings and phase demolished none. They haven't been demolished because they're new walls in the project. So I'll come into the drawing area again, just click and obviously deselect those. Now, you can give an entire project a phase as well. Now, you'll notice I've got nothing selected in the level 1 floor plan right now. I'm in the level 1 floor plan, nothing selected, and you'll see it says floor plan. The type selector there, so I'm going to come down here, and you can see that I've got my phase filter set to show all. So it's showing all of the working drawings phase. Now these phases are set to show specific elements. So if I click there on the down arrow, there's my phases there. Now you'll notice that phase 1 isn't showing. That's because I've got nothing on that phase. There's nothing set for that phase 1 at the moment. I just showed you how to add that to the list. But if I go to something like existing and then apply that, the view changes. That's what's existing, the grids, the dimensions, and the elevation markers and so on. Now you'll notice there's no colors in the room legend right now because the rooms aren't there. So if I change that now to my working drawings content, and then I apply, everything comes back again. The legend fills up because you've got the colors there and the rooms are all set up in this particular floor plan. Now the phase filter there is showing all of the working drawings phase. I can change that as well. I can show the complete setup, which obviously will look exactly the same, or I could go to show none. And if I apply that now, again, nothing changes because I'm showing all of the working drawings phase there. Now, some of them will change. Show, demo, and new, show complete. If I show new, like that, and apply that, again, nothing changes because nothing new has been added to this particular project. So if I added something that might be in phase 1, if I clicked on show new and phase 1 was available in the phasing, that would show the new phase information. So I can go back here and I can just go here and show all in this particular case because it's showing everything in my working drawings phase. And that's pretty much how phasing works. You just basically set the elements in the plan, in the model, to the appropriate phase, whether that's something like as built or to be demolished or new, or in this case, working drawings, for example, and then you just assign that information to that particular phase. Now, the settings for the phases, as I said, are here in the ribbon up there at the top of the screen. And you've also got phase filters. So each of these phases, can you see? Show complete, show new, by category, not displayed, you can override. And there's your new, existing, demolished, and temporary phases as well. You've also got graphic overrides where you can add dashes, patterns, colors, and so on. You can also half tone as well, which is very useful. So you might have a demolished phase that you want to see, but you want it half tone because you've got the new build on top, for example. So there's all these different settings in phasing that you can tweak and jump around and set to arrange for a display where perhaps your existing is only that, whereas your working drawings, when you show all of it, is that, And then if you come back here to learning content, you'll see that that is also different as well. And you'll notice there's no room legend there because the rooms aren't in. The rooms are only available when you go to the working drawing phase and apply it in the properties palette like that. So that's what phasing is all about. And all you've got to do is switch that phasing on to show the appropriate phase in your Revit architecture projects. In this particular video, we're going to start looking at family parameters. Now, Revit architecture is driven by families, whether they be system families or component families. So we've got a new Revit project open, and it's Revit project underscore parameters. You can see the name of it at the top of the screen. But a newer version of Revit, it will update to the new version before you can use it. Then you can save it, and then it can be used with your particular version of Revit architecture. Now, in the Revit project parameters file, I'm in the north elevation here. So make sure you go into elevations in the project browser and go to the north elevation. And it's a basic, simple wall. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring a family into that wall. So we're going to go up here to the architecture tab, and you can see that we've got doors and windows. Now, doors and windows can be brought in as hosted elements or hosted families. So the wall itself is the host element. So this wall here, if I select that wall, that is the host element, and it hosts the windows and the doors. So let's go and place a window. So I'm going to go up to a window, click there, and you can see I've got a single plain window there, like so. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the edit type before I place it. And you'll notice that this particular window is 630 by 150 millimeters deep. If I click on the down arrow there, you can see that I've also got a 1200 as well. And this allows me to work with different family parameters, which I'll explain in a moment. I'm just going to cancel that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the window into the wall itself. So I'm just going to pop that there on the left-hand side of the wall. Now I'm going to hit escape. I'm going to zoom in nice and close on the window there. So if I hover over this window now, it tells me it's the 630 by 150 millimeter deep window. If I select that there, I can now go into here, and you'll notice if I select the 1200, watch what happens to the window. And you'll see that that gets higher. It's a higher window now. It's now 1200 deep. So I hit escape to deselect it again. Now, what happens if I need to work with family parameters and create a different sized window? Well, it's very, very easy to do. You use your type parameters dialog box. So I'm going to select the window again, like so. And remember, I went to edit type. So I'm going to go to edit type now, like so. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate. So I'm going to duplicate the 630 by 1200, which is there. Now, using a bit of editing, now this is just the name of the family type. So you're not changing any parameters at this point. So instead of 1200, I want a really tall, thin window that is going to be 1500 deep. So I click on OK. So notice, can you see there, the type name changes. But I now need to change the rough height and the height here in the parameters. So there's the 1200 there. Change that to 1500. And there's the height there. Notice that updates as soon as I click in. Now just check all your other parameters. They all look okay. So if I click on OK now, notice I get a really tall, high window, but it's the 630 by 1500 millimeters. And that's how you mess around with family parameters in your type parameters dialog box. And you can do this with any Revit family. Doors, windows, chairs, desks, furniture, TV screens, anything that you bring in, any component family that you bring into Revit, you can mess around with the family parameters. The one thing I will say though is always duplicate. So always when you go to edit type, to edit to the parameters, always duplicate first and create a new family type in that family. Otherwise you'll overwrite the existing one and then you've got to go back and recreate it again. So make sure that when you're using your parameters, you duplicate, and also more importantly, you type the name properly. And remember, it's only the name in that dialog box. You have to go and edit the parameters in the type parameters dialog box as well. So let's go and create a new door family. It's going to be very simple, just like a box that is the shape of a door. And we're going to insert that into our Revit project. So I go up to the application menu here, and I hover over new, and I say that I want to create a family, a Revit family. And the good thing is there's a whole load of family templates already set up in Revit Architecture. So these are all metric because I'm using the UK version of Revit Architecture right now. And I'm going to select metric door, like so. So there it is there. And I click on open, like so. So that loads up quite happily like that. Now what I will do is I'll make sure that the metric door template is available to you, because some of you may be using an Imperial version of Revit that doesn't have that metric door template. So I'll make sure that that is loaded up and ready for you in your lynda.com download files. So you'll notice now we're in the family editor. You'll notice the ribbon is subtly different. Similar style, but different commands. And you'll notice at the top there it says Family 4, and we're in the floor plan. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a Save As. So I'm going to go up here to the application menu, Save As, and it's also going to be a family. And you can see I've already got a door one in there. I'm going to overwrite that and save like so. Do I want to replace it? Yes, I do. Now you can call it door one, you can call it door whatever you like really. I'll just call it door one because it's nice and easy to type. So you can see at the top now we have door one RFA, and RFA is a Revit family. And at the moment we're in the reference level floor plan. What we're going to do is we're going to zoom in on the opening, which is here. Now the good thing about these templates, it tells you which is the exterior side and the interior side. Gives you some parameters to work with as well. So I'm going to zoom in there and you can see the gap that is there for the door. Can you see the wall there? There's the wall highlighting. There's the gap here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to place a rectangle that forms my door. Now the rectangle will be an extrusion. We are working in 3D. So I go up to the Create tab on the ribbon in the Family Editor, and in the Forms here I select Extrusion. Now it goes into sketch mode, so you can see the green tick and the red cross here. I'm going to use the rectangle command in the draw panel there. And I'm just going to use my snaps. I'm just going to literally place a very boring rectangle like that. Now it's asking for a depth up here on the options bar 250. Make that 1000. Just for argument's sake, we'll tweak all the height of the door in a minute. But this depth gives you the height of the door in the opening. So I'll press enter for that. And what I'll do now is I'll click on the green tick, and my extrusion now fills that door opening. So if I now go to one of the elevations, let's go to the exterior elevation. I'll double click on it there. And you can see the door there is highlighted because I still have it selected. Zoom in a bit and just click and drag that door up on the little grip there until it gets to the top of the door opening. And there's our door in place like so. Now, when you're working in your families, you can obviously specify a material. So if I click here in the properties, I can select something like default roof, default wall, glass, or something. I'm going to go for a glass door, like so. And that'll go a nice blue color when I'm using the shaded visual style in my Revit project when I bring this in. So I'll okay that like so. So I've got a nice glass door there now. What we need to do is we need to save our family. So we can go up to the application menu here and just click on save. Like that, that saves all the details that we've put in. Or I can just hit save here on the quick access toolbar. That will do the same thing. Now, the one thing you'll notice at the end of each of these tabs, can you see you've got a load into project? Now, if I go to view here and I look at the switch windows here, you'll see that I've still got my project open. There's my RVT there. So I can go back to the project at any time. The one that's ticked at the moment is our exterior elevation of our door one RFA. So what I do now is I'm going to load this into the project. Click like so. And it's loaded into the project. Can you see my door one there in the properties? There it is. And if I bring that down into the wall or just place it centrally in the wall, I'm going to click like that. So my door has gone into my wall. I'm going to hit escape now, just to deselect the wall. I'm going to jump into the north elevation now of my Revit project. And there's my glass door. If I click on that, it tells me it's door one. And as you can see, I've placed a door now in my wall with a family that I've created set up using my parameters. Now the family editor is still open. So if I go to view now, like so, and I go to switch windows, I can now jump back into that exterior elevation of door one, click on it like so, and there it is there. So there's my door there. Now obviously we've got some parameters there. You'll see we've got a height parameter of 2000. And if I come out a bit more, you can see there that we've got some other parameters as well. So if I go to my floor reference level, you can see we've got a width there as well. Now I can change these parameters quite happily in my family by clicking on this icon here. So family types, like so. If I bring the family types dialog into the center there, you can see, look, there's my height and width. Now, if I want to add a new family type to door 1, I can give it a name. So this one is a 1000 by 2000 door. So what I'll do is I'll put in there 1000 millimeters by 2000 millimeters, like so. So that's my first family type in there like that. So that's in there. There it is there. What I can do now is I can create a new one. But what I'll do is I'll change the parameters. I'll change the width slightly to 1250, like so. And I'll click on new. And I can now add a 1250 millimeters by 2000 millimeters as well. So if I OK those now, those are my two new types that I've added. So I'll apply that, and I'll OK that. And I'll save those changes, those parameter changes. And now what I'll do now is I'll load that into the project again, and it'll say, do I want to overwrite the existing version of its parameter values? Yes, please. And now, when I go to that elevation again, my north elevation in my Revit project, and select it like so, if I click on the down arrow, you'll see, look, I've got the 1000 by 2000 and the 1250. So I can make that door wider by adding extra parameter values to my Revit family, my door 1 Revit family. And that's how you work with families and develop families in Revit architecture. We're going to zoom in on this stair void here. And what we're going to do, we're going to place some reference planes. Now, reference planes are available on the Architecture tab on the ribbon. And they're over here in the Work Plane panel, and it's this little icon here, so reference plane. And using the tools just to click, you can click and drag, and then click again. There's one vertical reference plane. I'll line in another one, just get the endpoints lined up with the little blue dash lines like that. And I'm going to go across, horizontal reference plane going through, and then another one, again, just line them in with the little dash lines there. You can line them in so they all sort of have their ends tallying up neatly. And then just hit escape a couple of times. There's our 4 reference planes in place. Going to zoom in on the top section now. Select the leftmost vertical reference plane. I want this temporary dim here from the inside edge of the wall to the reference plane to be 660 and enter like that. Hit escape to deselect. Do the same with this one, but you'll notice that this witness line here is going to the outer wall. You want it to go to the inner edge of the inner wall there. Can you see that? So the witness line goes there. And then this value of the temporary dim is going to be 660 again, and enter like that. So the 2 vertical reference planes, this one should be 660 from the inner wall there, and this one should be 660 from the inner wall there. Then we're going to select the topmost horizontal reference plane. You can see that's already lining in with the inside edge of that wall. So we need to change that value there to 1220. Like so, and then enter, and you'll see that you've got 1220 temporary dim there. Hit escape to deselect, and then zoom out a bit. We're now going to select the lower horizontal reference plane, and can you see that the witness line here goes up to the inner wall? Click on the witness line there, and just drag it down and line it in with that reference plane there. You've now got a distance between reference planes, so this temporary dim here is going to be 3500, and enter, like so. Hit escape to deselect, and you've now got neatly placed reference planes. So this one here, 660 from the inner edge of that wall. This one here should be 660 from the inner edge of that wall. Then here, this one here should be 1220 from the inner edge of that wall. And then between this one and also this one, you should have 3500, like so. So once those have all been set up, we can now go to the Architecture tab on the ribbon, go to our Circulation panel, click on the flyout here, and select Stair by Component. And what I'm going to do now is it's an assembled stair. It's a family that's already set in place. You'll notice here components-wise, I can specify a run, a landing, and also supports if I want to. I'm just going to define the run in this case. So I'm going to click here on this intersection and bring my staircase up. Can you see it's generating the staircase? When I get to that intersection of the reference planes, I click again for the landing. I come across now, intersection there, come back down again. When I get down here to that intersection, click again. And then all I've got to do now is hit the green tick to confirm my staircase. And there we go. One parametric staircase in place, ready to go. Now if I just hit escape a couple of times there and then zoom in, you'll notice not only has it placed the staircase, but it's also placed, can you see the railings as well? The railings are there too. So I've got an assembled stair with railings and stairs, all set up and ready to go. And that's how quick and easy it is to place a staircase in Revit architecture. Now, if you want to edit your stair, it's very simple. You can edit it like so, and you can go here to edit type, bring up your type properties, and you can start changing things like riser heights, tread depths, run widths, and so on. Your calculation rules can be edited as well, so you can go in and actually change the slope of the stair, the angle of the stair, and so on. You can specify what the supports are. You can specify as you come down as well. The cut mark type is a single zigzag. I could change that if I wanted to. I've got different availability there, so I can change it to a single line. I can change the cut mark symbol, the angle of the cut line angle, and so on. That's all available to be changed as well. So if I just click away from that stair, my stair is now in place. If I just jump into my 3D view here, my default 3D view, I can do that in the project browser. I'll click on the little house symbol, and you can see that my staircase has gone in now. I've got some rooms and things in place here. How do I see the staircase? Simple. Set this to wireframe and just zoom in. And there's my staircase there going up with my railings and so on in through the stair void like so. So you can see there that I've got my staircase going up nice and neat and tidy between floors like so. I'm in the level 0 floor plan right now. Now we can rename these floor plans and we can also duplicate them as well. So this one's got furniture in it and room names. I might want one without furniture and room names so that I can perhaps start dimensioning up the building ready for construction. So let's have a look at renaming and duplicating. So I'm going to right click on level 0, going to rename that as 00-GND for ground, like I did in the previous video, and I'll hit OK there. Would I like to rename the corresponding levels and views? Yes, I would. So that will rename. You'll notice in the ceiling plans now, it's rename the ceiling plan. I'll do the same with the level 1 as well. I'll right click on that and rename it, and that'll become 01-roof, like we did in the previous videos. So I'll just do that there, rename, yes. So that's all done. Now, I might need to duplicate these. So at the moment, the ground floor view that I'm in is my furniture view. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to right click and I'm going to duplicate that view, and I can duplicate it in 3 ways. I can duplicate it without the detailing. I can duplicate it with the detailing. I can duplicate it as a dependent. Now, if you were setting up dependent views, that's almost like a family group of views. So you might have a very, very large building with a right wing, an east wing, a north wing, a south wing, an atrium, and so on. You can set up loads of duplicate views for the same building, and they're all dependent on the same model. I'm going to duplicate, though, with detailing, like so. And that creates a copy of 00 ground. Now, what I'm going to do is the copy, I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to rename it as 00 ground dims, because that's going to be my dimension plan. Now, you could, if you wanted to, put the whole thing in there like that if you want. Be aware, though, that the longer the views are, the view names, I should say, they obviously have to go into bubbles and things on detail views and call-out views as well. So just be aware of that. I try and keep them short and sweet. So that, to me, would be 00 ground and then dim, like that, for dimensions. Then I would OK that. So there's my 00 ground dimensions. And then this one, I would right-click again and also rename. And that one might be my GA. General arrangement plan. There we go. And I'll rename the corresponding level of views, yes please. So now I've got a 00 ground GA and a 00 ground GA for both floor plan and ceiling plan. Now we're in our 00 ground dimension view there, and we've renamed it and we've duplicated it. Now what we might do there is we might remove the bits that we don't need. So the furniture, for example, click on one piece of furniture, right click, and we'll hide that in the view. That's just at the top there. You should be able to see that. And I'm going to do that by category. So I'm going to hide all of my furniture by category. Now the tags as well, I might want the tags to go, so I'll right click there, and again, hide in view. Now what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to hit escape, and I'm going to come down here and use this tag instead. It's a lot easier to see, and then hide in view, and I'm going to do category. So they'll go as well. Now, do I need the room names? I would probably keep those, but what I might do now, as this is my dimension plan, is I might start dimensioning. So I'll go to annotate, and just add a few dimensions there. So I'll go from, say, that wall, I get the edge of that wall there, or the center of that wall, and just come across the center of that wall, and I'll just place my dimension there like so. So that's my dimension plan. Now you'll notice if I go back to the GA, where I've duplicated it, I've still got all the furniture, still got all the tags. And the whole idea is you duplicate these views to allow you to show different detail in your Revit architecture projects. Once you've done that, you'll notice we're in level 0 right now in the floor plans. Come down to your schedules and quantities in your project browser, and we're going to go into Furniture Schedule 1. Just double click on it and it will open up the schedule quite happily. Now, if you haven't already created a Furniture Schedule 1, you can go and create one. In this case, it's already loaded into the project. If you want to edit your schedule, you go into the Properties palette and hit one of these edit buttons here. So I'm going to edit the fields first, and this will bring up the Fields tab in the Schedule Properties. So at the moment, we've got the family and type of furniture, the mark of the furniture, which is a number assigned to each individual item, and the count, i.e. how many. What we can do here is we can add things like manufacturer, model, the phase created, the phase demolished, the type, and so on. I'm going to actually add something like up here, the assembly description or the assembly name. You can also add just a comments field as well. It's entirely up to you what you want to add. Something else you might want to add is level. Now the level is the floor where each of them are. So I'm going to add level to this here and add that across. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just OK that. And you'll see that they're now all at level 0, which is there. So here's the best bit. If I change that level 0 and rename it now to 00 ground, like I have done in previous videos, if I click on OK now and rename the corresponding level and views, it renames the level in the schedule as well, which is great. Now, I may want to actually sort this in a different way. I'm sorting it by family and type at the moment. I might want to sort it by level. So if I come down here now and click on the buttons again where I want to edit it. So if I click back in the schedule area and then come back to fields, and I can click on any of these, sorting or grouping, and you can see there that sorting or grouping comes up. Doesn't matter which edit button you click on because you can click on the tabs in the dialog box like so. So I'm in sorting and grouping, and family and type is what I'm being sorting by. I'm going to change that to level, and I'm going to OK it. So now it's sorting everything by level, and it's just telling me that there's 8 bits of furniture. And that's it. So there's 8 bits of furniture on the ground level. Now what I need to do is go into the sorting and grouping again, and I need to itemize every instance. And then it gives me the grand total and each instance on that level of that particular piece of furniture. Now what I could do is I could put by level and then by family and type. If I do that and OK it, you'll see it changes the view of the schedule completely. And that's really useful because it's sorting by level and then family and type. So if I now go back to fields here and edit those, I'll move level all the way up to the top, like so. And that means that'll be the leftmost column now. So when I click there, tell me what level they're on, and there's the family and type. So I can sort it and I can organize it in many different ways. And that's one of the major benefits of the schedules in Revit architecture. Now, something else you can do in those fields, by the way, is I can actually go in and I can change the formatting. So I can come in here and change the formatting of each of the fields that I'm using. So they can either be horizontal, they can be left, middle, center. If I center them, they'll be centered in their boxes on the actual schedule itself. So if I OK that, can you see they're now all centered, like so? The numbered ones and the family and type won't be, but as you can see, it's centered the 00 ground ones. These have stayed left because they are working in a slightly different way. But if I come back here, and then come back here to sorting and grouping and formatting, if I go to family and type, notice that's still left. That's the different way I was talking about. You have to do it for each individual one, like so. So if I set all of those to center, make sure family and type is also set to center, and then OK it. See, each one works in its own individual separate way. Now that actually looks a lot nicer, and if I brought that into a sheet, it would look quite nice on a sheet in Revit as well. One more thing to look at though, especially in those fields where we're looking at the formatting and the appearance, I can have a hidden field. So what I might do here now is I might go to mark, the actual mark number, of which there aren't any in the column at the moment, but I can say that's a hidden field and OK it. It hides it from the view, but when I go into fields here, it still exists. Now the reason being is I might be sucking that data out into a database, and I don't need to show the mark numbers actually on the sheet itself, but they might need to be sucked out into a database at a later date, perhaps. So that's why you can hide fields as well. So I'll just OK that now. So that's now a hidden field. As you can see, it's not showing. If I go back to fields though, and come back here into formatting, and I select mark, and I bring it back, and untick the hidden field like that, it comes back in as a column again. Last but not least, appearance. This is all your fonts and things like your title text, your header text. They're all coming in as schedule defaults at the moment. I might say that the title text is 7mm Arial, header text 5mm Arial, body text 3.5mm Arial. Okay, and can you see all updates there? And when I bring that into a sheet in Revit, it will obviously appear with all those particular fonts and heights of text. So that's how you can organize and tidy up your fields and your columns and your text in your schedules in Revit architecture.